Hi there, and welcome to this episode of Write With Me at IELTS Juice. This is an improved version, so let's begin. This time around, we have a favorite topic of mine. The letter says, recently you have traveled by plane, and during the journey, you had an issue with one of the airline employees. Write a letter to the company manager, and then there are details. Let me first before getting to the detailed part, let's look at the topic. So recently, the very first word, I want you to start thinking that it was last week, 2 weeks ago, 1 month ago. So recently means that you have been on a trip recently. Think about the date, the time, how many days ago it was. It shouldn't be more than one or 2 months. Usually, if you have an issue, you file a complaint immediately once you land, once you get over jet lag, or I don't know, in over 24, 48 hours, it's basically the time that you can start communication. That's why I'm saying when it says recently, it means it's a very short while ago. Think about that. Next, you have traveled by plane. So the mode of transportation here was plane. It doesn't say if it was an international flight or it was a domestic flight. You decide what type of flight it was. From some city to another city, or from one country to another country, from one airport to another airport, or maybe you had a stopover. So you went from one airport to another airport and you stayed there for 12 hours or less, and then you travel to another airport. You decide. I want you to be creative. Think about these things. And during the journey, you had an issue. It's only one issue, but I will get to that why I keep saying one, and why it's not just one issue with one of the airline employees. So your problem was basically with another individual, another human being. It wasn't necessarily a technical issue. Nobody was there to help you, things like that. Or your seat was uncomfortable, or the food wasn't cooked very well. It's not that kind of problem. Let me continue with the bullet points. Write a letter to the company manager, obviously. That means the salutation needs to address the manager. In your letter, give details of your flight. You need to give reference. When it was, what flight it was, flight number. Was it the departure date, the arrival dates, the arrival airport, destination, the final destination, the layover destination, your itinerary, your maybe the ticket. You can say it was a single ticket, it was a round trip. The second bullet point says, describe the issue you encountered. Here you basically talk about the type of issue, the details, what problem it was. So the issue, singular. And finally, say what you expect the manager to do. Is it full reimbursement? You want your money back? You want a written apology from the company? Maybe you want mileage or coupons or some sort of bonus. Maybe you want them to upgrade your economy class to business class. Maybe you want them to change their policy. That can be good. So this problem never happens again. Or you want a very fast response because, for example, your trip is next week. Your trip back home is next week, and you want this issue to be resolved by then. So let's begin planning this letter. We first need to realize if this is a formal or informal letter. Obviously, it is a formal letter. It is a very formal letter, and your tone should be angry, but I wanted to say dissatisfied, unhappy, and also formal. So you are unhappy, concerned, dissatisfied, but you are very formal and very, very polite. Because if you say anything other than this, your complaint is not going anywhere. Nobody is going to pay attention to this. Your intention is to stop this problem from ever happening again. Your intention is to show your dissatisfaction and get something in return. Your intention is to be helpful because we want to live in a better community, and this is one of the ways that you can help people give better services. So you don't want to damage the reputation. You might be very angry, I understand, but you still need to maintain your tone within the framework of formality. You of course address the manager by their surname, dear Mr. blah blah or dear Mrs. blah blah, or if you don't know the name of the manager to whom it may concern, that would be enough. The opening statement you don't need to say hi, hello, how are you, I hope this letter finds you well. That is completely out. Forget anything. I am writing this letter. Be very direct and say, I am writing this letter to show my dissatisfaction with, and then you state your problem. Say you are writing because you are frustrated, you are unhappy, you're super unhappy, you are not satisfied. And then that manager's attention is, oh my God, wow, what's wrong? And please say, just say the name of the problem. For example, I'm writing this letter to express my dissatisfaction with your staff at this airport, whose job was to process my luggage, for example. And you just say that, and that's enough. That's seriously enough. Stop right there, and then don't get into any judgment. Don't say it was the staff's fault, they didn't process things. Don't start explaining just yet. Just mention it, that you are unsatisfied, and it's the nature of the problem is that the employee didn't do his or her job properly. Done. Now you need to go back a little bit and talk about the problem. Please give details of your flight. I'm going to use every bit of detail I can think of here. What are these details? Easy. Say your flight number, the date, the departure airport or terminal. Say what type of ticket it was. Explain what time it was that you met this individual and this employee was who. If you know the name, say it. If you don't know the name, just say the employee responsible for processing my luggage at that time was a gentleman, and you can explain, or it was a lady, and then that person, you can continue. That person helped me or didn't help me with this, and there was this issue. Talk about the details of your flight. These are the elements that they should be neutral. So you don't need to say anything angry here. You don't need to say you don't need to say, okay, my departure terminal was terminal B, which is a very bad one. It smells, it's damp, and it's not a comfortable. You don't need to talk about different things. You don't need to bring in other elements. Basically, just give the details without any judgment, without any extra adjectives here, just details of the time, the date, the the seat you had, the employee, the time of the departure, the location, the duration of the flight, things that you basically give to somebody in order to inform them. You need to give them the information without judgment. Managers don't like this, that you just write and you are doing the managing on their behalf. They are the managers. Give them proper details. They will act as a manager and they will take the proper course of action. So just lay the information over there for them to understand. And that would be your very first paragraph. In the next paragraph, we are going to talk about the nature of the issue. Describe the issue you encountered. So there is this problem. Here it is. Here, talk about the problem. So with all the details gone, now you say, we've just tell the story. You put your luggage on the luggage scale and it gives an incorrect number. Then the employee started saying this, you disagreed. He also or she also mentioned that it's the policy. It became a heated discussion. Basically talk about what went on from your perspective. Tell the story, tell what the problem was. Now, we want to make this as one problem. We want to make it short. So if you're going to say that there was just this problem and there was this problem and there was this problem, then it's just a company and it's just a human being and it's just a manager. He cannot solve all the world's problems just by you, just because you mentioned them. So do not mention multiple problems. If you want to say other problems, mention this is the same problem and this problem also had brought up other issues as sub problems under it. You see? So there, do not mention different problems. If you want to say focus on this one problem, there's only one single problem. For example, the staff doesn't know how to interact with international flight passengers. The staff wasn't informed. The employee at my luggage scale didn't know how to process this. So you can say, you don't need to say that they were rude and they were unprofessional or they just yelled at you or they weren't informed. You don't need to mention them as multiple items. Put them under one umbrella term and say that these employees didn't know. I tried to educate them. We went through this and that problem. If you want to say, you can give those other smaller problems as examples or as sub-problems of the only problem you're going to express here, because we want the manager to be focused on one issue. And then in another paragraph, we can go ahead, depending on the size of your letter, we can go ahead and introduce another paragraph. I need another topic sentence, and here you can go ahead and give suggestions to the manager. You need to say what you expect the manager to do. So you suggest that they do this action, or if they want, they can take this action. I wouldn't go more than this. You don't want to give them a list of suggestions. You can give them hints. You can give this manager some hints on what to do and what needs to be done. But that would be enough. We don't need any more suggestions. So basically this is extra. All right, now that we have everything in place, I cannot see my valediction. There you go. Okay, better. I want you to see that the problem here is in the center of this letter. So you visually, you see that, sir, we have, or madam, we have this issue, look, and then there are solutions, there are suggestions to solve this. Please take a course of action. This will give you, even in real scenarios, this will give you a higher chance of seeing the problem go as fast as humanly possible. Towards the end, you can close it by saying some generic sentences like, you are a loyal customer, you have flown with this airline multiple times, you hadn't had this issue before, this is the first time you understand it, you're bringing it up because you have good intentions, you are very upset and unhappy about this, but you want to stop other people from experiencing the same issue, so you close it by this. And I know it's very counterintuitive, it's very difficult, I am totally aware of that, but I still want to tell you, say thank you in the end. The very fact you're not going to, let's take the worst scenario, you are never going to touch this company ever again. If that were the case, you wouldn't be writing a letter to them. But let's just say that you are so angry that you don't want to see them ever again in your life, okay? The very fact that you wrote a letter, gave them suggestions to solve it, you were very polite, you showed your dissatisfaction, and they read it and you thanked them, but they do not thank you in return, shows that if this goes public, if anybody else understands this, they are going to support you. Because clearly you were helpful, friendly, to the extent that you could. You were trying to help, and you were appreciative of some of the things they have done correctly, at least in the past. And well, the flight captain was still an expert who helped you travel safely, so the plane didn't have any accidents in the meantime. So this company did something correctly, which deserves a little bit of appreciation. But there is this but there is this issue that you need to solve. This is my suggestion. If you wish to see a sample on this, done and improved, click over here. If you wish to see other videos like this where we plan essays, letters, and reports, click over here. And remember, eat healthy,